when and how and what will be done before a marriage is declared over. The case of Niger is my editorial before we dive into today's topic, which shall be based on transformational leadership in an uncertain society in Cameroon and the way out of Cameroon's quagmire. And I'm saying the editorial for today will focus on Niger. Just recently, on Saturday, the military junta in Niger called for a meeting, and that was under the auspices of the Niger foreign minister with all the foreign missions in Niger. The French ambassador refused to attend the meeting under the guise that the French government does not and will not recognize the military junta as the leader of Niger. The whole that President Bazoum is the democratically elected president, and so therefore he is the one that has been recognized and that has the authority to summon the French ambassador into a meeting. The military junta took it as an offense, and that the French had no right in their nation to dictate who is in charge and how things are supposed to run. To that effect, therefore, they gave a 48 hours ultimatum for some foreign emissaries to leave the country, and that Nigeria was involved. Also, the U.S. government was put on a high alert as far as that is concerned. Of all the foreign ministries, the French government refused. In fact, the French ambassador has refused to leave the country, and that they still do not recognize the Niger authority. But the question that one should be asking is, since when did Niger become a French province, and how will French determine what happens in Niger? ECOWAS also on Saturday made mention that they are not going to order a war in Niger. In the words of the ECOWAS president, that we are not going to attack Niger. We are sending the military to go and restore constitutional order. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. He said, we are not going to attack Niger, but we are sending the standby force to go and restore constitutional order. I want to ask the question, that grammar, did you still get it? We are not going to attack Niger, but we are going to send the standby force to restore constitutional order. And that the peace-loving people of Niger are suffering, and so therefore should not in any way be punished. But this same ECOWAS, Nigeria has cut off electricity in Niger. This same ECOWAS, Nigeria has blocked the borders. This same ECOWAS has imposed sanctions to the peace-loving people of Niger, who are suddenly behind their junta. As we speak, since the date of the coup, not one person has been killed. No one person has been killed as far as the coup is concerned. Now, the ECOWAS chairman is telling us that they are not sending the military to go and attack Niger, but they are sending it to go and restore constitutional order. And how will that be done? Is the military standby force a political organization or a Holy Spirit that is just going to descend in Niger and constitutional order is restored? And the people of Niger, the military, they are also going to just watch and clap and say, okay, come and restore constitutional order spiritually. Except, anyway, the ECOWAS members are highly involved in Christianity. Nigeria is one with high level of churches. Maybe the military forces that they are sending are Holy Ghost that are going to pray without military intervention. Conclusively on this issue, if Niger is going to be what it is, and some are supporting the ECOWAS intervention, will they be able to face the consequence? Niger has authority, and also the Rome Statute of the principle of territoriality that gives the Nigerian the power to determine what runs in their country and what should not run in their country. The ECOWAS chairman, president, also made mention that Niger is a member of ECOWAS, and so therefore Niger is a signatory to some convention, so they are going to intervene. But the issue here is the same ECOWAS constitution states that no ECOWAS member should be attacked by an ECOWAS member. So this controversy, who is really pulling the strings? And Nigeria president, the chairman of ECOWAS, told us on Saturday that his hands are tied, that he's the one stopping the war, that the force pushing the war is stronger than him, and which means that those who have refused to leave the country are probably those pushing for the war. What will hold the fate? What do you support and what don't you support? This is House of Commons with me, Tah Mai Jarvis. Today's topic, we are going to look at transformational leadership in an uncertain society, the way out of Cameroon's quagmire. In the studio, we'll have someone who is a promoter of the higher education family. And you know, higher education play a key role in supporting the vision of a country and setting the policy for young entrepreneurs and Cameroonians to buy it and to go and become the flag bearers of the nation. And so he has sent out thousands of students in his institution. And he's also someone that believes on the fact that the youths must be able to have a change of mindset that can be able to provide some of the services, vital services in their society. And he also believes in the transformation or the reorientation of our educational curriculum, which should be based on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. He is also a surgeon and also considered as a progressive CPDM. Dr. Nsungkikang, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Jarvis. You summarized it very well. I'm a progressive CPDM. That means we must progress. I'm not the typical CPDM. I'm a progressive one.
Another one that say Papa don't talk say.
No. don't say Papa don't talk say. Anyway, if I want to say Papa don't talk say, actually Papa said something. Papa, His Excellency President Bobia has prescribed two things. He first said that we must emerge in 2035, but we have all been sleeping. And he has come around to say that we must undergo import substitution. And that's what it's all about now. So Papa don't talk say is the hour for import substitution, and it must happen.
Thank you very much. He's a co-founder of New Area Youth for Africa and vibrant member of the Cameroon Civil Society, which many have considered him as being controversial because of his stand against the armed conflict in the Northwest and Southwest region, specifically on the ill treatment of those who claim they want to restore the independence of the former Southern Cameroon. He's someone that believes in objectivity, fairness, balance, and also that people must be given the opportunity to serve, and that leaders must be accountable and not the people only being accountable to their leaders. He is Ndiwum Emmanuel, co-founder of NEA. Thanks for joining us on Happy Sunday, Isima.
Isima Bobe. Thank you very much for the invitation once more. It's always a pleasure to share such a beautiful platform with loaded minds like the ones we have in the studio today, talking about those I have termed predators who came in the guise of liberators, as you have said in your introduction, the so-called Amber. I keep repeating it. We don't liberate people by becoming their own predators. So Cameroonians, south or west of the Mongo, like I've been saying of recent, have to keep their eyes very open and to make sure that manipulation is over. Let us deal with issues that are real. As we continue to hold the government of Cameroon accountable, we want to think that we cannot hold a ghost accountable. So the ghost has to disappear while we continue to hold the government accountable, because that is where we pay our taxes. Once more, it's a pleasure to be on your platform.
Also in the studio is someone that has also been instrumental in the training of young engineers as far as Cameroon is concerned and Africa. Is very vibrant and very pragmatic, and also believe that we must enhance our engineering sector and must be open to give the experience to the students, and must also be open to be accountable in the engineering sector. He is Engineer Dixon, someone that has trained thousands of students in terms of defending their projects and also working with them in the form of making sure that they become the job creators and not just job seekers. Engineer Dixon, thanks for joining us on Happy Sunday.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jarvis, for inviting me. It is a pleasure for me to honor this invitation with respect to the topic that we'll be discussing on today, which is transformative leadership, something I hold very paramount. This does not tie only to the government, but all sectors of our economy. All sectors of our economy, from top to bottom and bottom to top. Every Cameroonian must be held accountable on leadership, specifically transformative leadership. So once again, thank you for having me in this program.
Dr. Nsungkikang, I'll begin with you. We are looking at transformational leadership as far as the way out of, in an uncertain society and the way out of Cameroon's quagmire. You are someone that probably have had the opportunity to be within the two systems.
Yeah.
Maybe the old and the new republic.
Yeah.
And that which we consider it as a blessing. Because
Yeah.
some of us, we have just seen this current republic.
Yes.
And so we may not be in a position to contrast and compare as far as that is concerned. Looking at your also background of having international experience, of having other republics, how they operate within the Western world and also African nations, which you have toured around. In this context, therefore, when we look at this Cameroon system of leadership, don't you see that there is a major problem in terms of the leadership? Don't we need a transformational leadership?
Thank you very much. We do actually need a transformational leadership in Cameroon, and I'm glad you say that. I was part of the First Republic, now the Second Republic, and hopefully the Third Republic. But you know, when you look at that topic of yours, it's already pointing an accusing finger, you know, and you give the impression that leadership has to do just with people in government, and which is something I don't want us to dwell on here. We have to look at what we understand by leadership across the board, because for Cameroon to change, it's not just the leadership at the top as you think that has to change. It's every Cameroonian that has to change. Why is it so? Because everybody is a leader. So we give the impression that leadership is for people who went to ENAM, leadership is for people who were appointed, leadership is for people who have been elected. It's not true. Leadership is a skill that everybody has and must have. You can have it not as good, but you must develop it, you must grow it, and it's important. Why so? Because whatever you do in life, you must have these skills of leadership. And when the leadership is poor, the whole nation suffers. So illustratively, this is how I would put it. We do agree, Dixon would agree with me that Douala is a very dirty city. That's not something we should argue about. But let's ask the question, how can we clean Douala city? We would say that every family on Thursday should come out and clean their environment, clean their gutters, clean their homes and so on, and pile the dirt. Then the council will come and carry away the dirt. So if we effectively did that, Douala will be clean in 1 week. But the bottom line is, when they say they should come out and clean, nobody comes out to clean. The council itself is sleeping, everybody is sleeping. Then from 8 to midday, which was supposed to be the hour of cleaning, everybody is sleeping, and then we jump on the road at midday to go to these things, and the city is still dirty. So you see, if we wanted Douala clean, and if the 3, 4, 5 million people in Douala came out and cleaned on a day, Douala will be clean in a few hours. So it's about everybody's contribution to make this country work. And before I give you back the microphone, let us first understand, before we go too deep, let us first understand the difference between a leader and a manager. Let me be very pragmatic, and we are going to use an illustration that I always use. Let us all go to the plantations in the CDC plantations in Tico. They have banana plantations. I know there are no pineapples, but let's assume that they have pineapple plantations. They have palms, they have rubber, they have plantains, I don't know what. So this is how it works. There is a manager with a group of workers, and they are working in the rubber plantation, and all that the manager sees is what is happening in the rubber plantation. But the leader the leader is higher than the manager, and he's sitting in a helicopter. And when he's sitting up in the helicopter, he can see the rubber plantation, the pineapple plantation, the banana plantation, and all what have you. And then looking from up, he can see that in that other plantation across the hill, the palm nuts are ripe. So he gives the instructions to the manager, please take your team to the palm nut plantation. So the leader is someone who sits at the top of any institution or any home, and then he looks at things, with a bird's eye view to see what should be done and what should not be done. While the manager is concerned with micromanagement, the leader is concerned with the vision and then making sure that he directs resources to solve problems concretely. And so if a leader must have the right vision, the leader must have the right attitude, the leader must have the right emotional intelligence, and the leader must know what he is doing. The leader is someone who takes responsibility, and the leader is someone who knows how to communicate. If the leader must actually know where he is going, and he must be skilled. Might be we will enter later on into the skills, and above all, his character must be very sharp.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ningwa and Desmond Emmanuel. I'll come now to you. I want us to look at this. We are the people of the New Republic, and of course, that doesn't still mean that we don't have books to read as far as the Old Republic is concerned, and we also doesn't mean that we have not had the opportunity to meet with people who saw the Old and New Republic like Dr. Nick and others. But we look at the issue of transformational leadership in an uncertain society. The key aspect there is uncertain society, Cameroon's quagmire. How will you look at the quagmire of Cameroon? Is it just, Dr. Nick said we should not just limit it to the government?
That is where I want to start by disagreeing a bit with Dr. Nick, because to think that the topic points directly to those in power, that was not my reading of the topic. Because when I took time to go through the topic, I discovered that we are talking about leadership. Even a family man is a leader in his family. The head of a school is the leader. I mean, even your farm, in the military, we have leaders in they cut across the board. So we cannot say that the topic points already an accusing finger. What I want to say is that transformational leadership, by definition in the first place, is a model of leadership that relies on the encouragement of teamwork. That is, it shares out knowledge. And that one now goes with what Dr. Nick ended with. A leadership that is based on attainment of goals, solution-oriented, solving problems, not leadership that remains floating up there, while seated up there, while the problems are floating down there. Now, in such a leadership, I can say that you use a good allusion to the First Republic and the Second Republic. It is quite true that we are children of the Second Republic, but it doesn't deter us from knowing how the First Republic was managed. In such a transformational leadership, we have 4 characteristics that must emerge. If they fail to emerge, then that leadership was never transformational. The first one is in the lines of intellectual stimulation. A leadership that is failing lacks such a characteristic, because in intellectual stimulation, we need to innovate. And when we are innovating, it leads to creativity. From creativity, we are marching towards our goals. And those goals, to be attained, need challenges. Where are those challenges supposed to come from? From the masses, from the citizens, who are the first article of the constitution of every nation in the world. I keep saying it. Now we have the second factor, which is an idealized influence. An idealized influence, I can take Dr. Nick today as my role model. I have said it in and out of media, because I started following him when I was in high school, back in 2006. And we could not miss a single second knowing that he was either on luncheon date or he was on Beyond the Frontiers. Now, we are still in that line. We have people who should walk the walk. We have people who should be enthusiastic as leaders. And of course, we cannot face out from that factor without talking about embodied values, which is exactly what the present leadership in Cameroon lacks completely. I mean completely. Which means even few of them are having it. They don't have the means to be role models to the younger generation. That is why at one point I appreciate somebody like Dr. Nick, his humility, his openness to share knowledge to our own generation. Not everybody does that. There are very few of them. The third one, individual consideration. As a leader, you distance yourself. Even the Bible says it, if you want to lead, you must walk ahead, so that you have time to look at the people you are leading. In this case, we talk about mentorship. These are the people who should mentor those who are looking up to them for a brighter future. And in our context, in the quagmire, let me use your words, of Cameroon context, we don't have such people. That is why you discover that in a country blessed with everything, we beg everything. We have some few, permit me to say, some few people who are holding positions that are not their positions. So in that effect, they cannot mentor somebody, because you cannot mentor somebody with what you are not motivated and you cannot know, and you don't know it. Like Song Bahana said, you cannot do what you don't
Someone
know.
cannot do what
you don't know. Now, in that case, you have empathy. A leader that lacks empathy can plunge the nation to any danger, to any disaster, without the second thought. Still in that line, we have purpose. Leadership goes with purpose. When you don't have purpose and you are in the place of leadership, give you 50 years there, you will help to destroy the nation and destroy the people without knowing where you are going to. That is why in Cameroon, you have people who are ministers, they are standing in the division, they don't know the name of that division. Yes, because they lack purpose. They are just there.
We also have coaches that don't know the names of their players.
The names of the player. That is why you see people who lack purpose. They don't know the direction to whom or to which they should be driving the country at. They just want to bear the title that I'm a minister, I'm a GO, I'm a governor. We have the strength and skill, which should be cumulative. It should not be a one-man's thing. We should learn, like Dr. Nick is doing, identify those who are skillful in the various domains and place them there. That is the leadership that carries a nation forward. But when we limit our leadership to nepotism, tribalism, corruption, embezzlement, that is not leadership for purpose. There's no purpose in that domain. The last one, before you take the microphone, inspirational motivation. And in the light of inspirational motivation, there is clear vision. A visionary is somebody who has in mind that today I am in Douala, tomorrow I want Douala to expand to such a level.
Oh.
I still have two aspects there.
Yeah, we'll be coming
you
back
have, under this factor, you have optimism. We have people in leadership in this country who are more pessimistic than the people they are supposed to govern. And that acts as a wet blanket to the dreams of the population that should look up to such people. Lastly, we should talk about inclusion and productivity. Because for a leadership to show proof of success or failure, there must be productivity. And in the absence of productivity, we don't need rocket science to know that the leadership has failed.
I'll be coming back to you. Engineer Dixon, you are in the higher education family, and in the private sector, you have a rich experience working with different universities and also adjunct in some universities. When we look at the system of leadership by some of the proprietors, I'm sure maybe you may be constrained not to speak because Dr. Nick is a promoter, is here, but I want us to have an open discussion. Do you think that we'll need transformational leadership in the higher educational family as far as this topic is concerned?
Thank you very much, Mr. Jarvis. I will not use this platform to be naive on the complexity of leadership. Leadership is very complex. I think we all must establish that. Even in our families, you discover that the people you are taking decision over have varied expectations from you. Now coming to institutions per se, there is no institution without its limitations. And one of my observations, especially with the private higher institution, is the aspect of leadership. Many of our private higher institutes lack leadership. And when leadership is absent, efficiency and productivity becomes very low, both with the personnel as well as students. Coming back to the concept of leadership, I think a leader is someone who has the ability to inspire, and I also agree with Dr. Nick, who mentioned the fact that a leader should be able to guide and most importantly have a vision. And taking it to a global scale, I think I don't want to play any blame game. I started by saying that leadership involves everybody, not only higher education, those who are running industries also have a part to play, and the government in all of this is the head. And the role of the government is to create an enabling environment whereby citizens can go about their day-to-day activity in security. And at that level, it is more complex because you are looking at multi-dimensional sectors stemming from agriculture to national security to health to education and more. What I have observed, and which I strongly condemn both at micro level and at macro level, is that we are concentrated in enforcing strong men rather than strong institutions. I think we should be more concentrated on instituting strong institutions that can survive without these strong men. But this, to my observation, is practically missing, because even in this higher education, we've had institutions whereby the founder is not there and everything goes off. We've had industries whereby the person who started the industry, maybe something happens, is incapacitated and everything goes down, meaning that institution had a strong man rather than a strong institution. And I don't know if I still have time, because
you have time.
Okay, because at the government level, I think one of the limitations that we have in leadership is corruption, Mr. Jarvis. We cannot deny this. You know, I'm not an economist and I will not pretend to be an expert in economics, but I think common sense tells me that money has no value without production. That's common sense. So if we go about printing more money and not producing, the country will only suffer from inflation. I'm saying this because I've been a victim. Yesterday I was driving my car, the routier dropped me, checked my books, I had everything, and the man still said, please give me 2 juice. Donne-moi des bouteilles jus là-bas. You see, meaning his objective of even checking was not that I should, even if I'm at default, was not that I should pay to the state treasury.
Okay.
Was that I was to give that money to him. But when he saw that I was okay, he said, donne-moi des bouteilles d'eau. He said d'eau. But now, what is it? How does corruption affect us so badly? Because we don't produce. Now, corruption puts money, a lot of money in the hands of citizens. No production. We dwell more on importation, and little money in the hands of the government. And this government, if it cannot meet the need of the citizen, has to go and borrow to do so. And when the government borrows, that's more money in the economy than anticipated. So what is the end result of that? Inflation, because we don't produce. And that is why you see price of commodities going up. I'm not saying as an economist, it's common sense. More money in the economy, little production, price goes up. It happens in Zimbabwe when they had sanctions and the government went about printing more money. They bought a loaf of bread for, I think, over a million.
We had a million Zimbabwe dollars.
Yeah, for a loaf of bread. So Cameroonians should know that more money in your pocket doesn't make you rich. What can you get? You can have 10 billion, but what can you get with it? Nothing, because you don't produce. All the food you eat is imported. And if you have more money than your production, what happens? The International Monetary Fund devalues your currency. And once your currency is devalued, it means you need more money to even buy what you are buying from abroad. So I think I have a model of leadership that I want to propose that can help the economy, which I adopted from Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. I'm going to share that on this platform in my next presentation.
Okay, yeah. Maybe when we come now, we share it. I want to do a follow-up with Dr. Nick. Dr. Nick made mention of the fact that we must not blame exclusively the government when it comes to leadership, and also we must take collective responsibility as far as that is concerned. But doctor, don't you see that in as much as it should be collective, but the government shares a good number of the blame, because can a hungry man be a happy man?
No, a hungry man cannot be a happy man, and that's why we are here today to say that we must all do what we are supposed to do. We must take we know that quinine tablet is bitter, but the bottom line is we have malaria that will kill us, and Dixon here is saying that we must take that quinine, otherwise we will die. It's just as simple as that. It's common sense, whether we like it or not, whether we like the government in place or not, whether we like ourselves or not, whether we like to be Cameroonians or not. It changes absolutely nothing. We have a problem that we must all solve. But just like you say, we could say that 60% of the blame goes to the government, then 40% goes to the people. Why does the government take the 60%? Because you are supposed to guide the people to the products. We need products, okay? You measure your effectiveness in the nation by products. So when I have kept saying it, when you go, and I'm sure Dixon probably have noticed, and I got this from a supermarket, I didn't make it up. Go to any supermarket, let's not call any names. 95% of the goods you will find in our supermarkets, I'm not mentioning the cars and the expensive watches. I'm talking about, yes, just the things that the common things you can see in our supermarkets, the very top ones. 95% of the stuff is imported. And the law, it's a lady who works in one of those supermarkets who told me 5 years ago, and it says the law says that they should have a minimum of 10% of the products that are made in Cameroon. But unfortunately, they have a hard time even getting to the 5%. So you see, there is a problem. You cannot have a country where you just keep importing and importing and importing, and you think that you are going to survive. It will not work. You will crash. And we are getting to the place where we are going to crash. And that's why President Paul Biya has prescribed import substitution. And import substitution is a stronger slogan which carries more weight than Emergence 2035. And the bottom line is, like Dixon was saying, we must all produce, and we have to look for the production formula. And when he is going to be giving his lessons on Lee Kuan Yew, yes, Lee Kuan Yew is the former Prime Minister of Singapore. He was in power for from the year
1959 to 1990.
Good. And he did a miracle. He changed something in the mindset and mentalities of the people, the way of thinking and the way of doing things and taking responsibility. So it starts, number one, with behavior, number two, with education, number three, with responsibility and commitment. So it's a behavioral thing. So the question you would also ask is, how can we start? We all had independence with Singapore in 1960. Today, we are importing everything from Singapore, and soon we'll be getting helicopters and planes from them. And yet in Cameroon, we still cannot make toothpicks. So there is a problem with us. We might blame the French, we might blame neocolonialism, we might blame everybody else, but the bottom line is still with us. And like you said, the leadership has to lead people down the right path and guide everybody to become productive. Now we have a lot of entertainers, people distracting others with
everybody wants to be a content creator.
We influencers and all that rubbish. Distraction, too much distraction. Oh, by the way, there was one of the professors who sharpened my mind this morning, and he was looking at what higher education does, and he said that the education in any nation produces three kinds of people. Group A, managers in quotes, group 2, entertainers, and group 3, workers. Workers are the one that produce the juice. Managers manage the production of the juice. Entertainers, well, you know them. But let's look at Cameroon. If you look at those three groups, Cameroon is 80% or even 90% made of managers and entertainers. That is the problem. And the people who are supposed to be producing the goods are those people who are trained in STEM, science, technology, engineering, economics, and mathematics, and how things work. Yes, agriculture, food transformation, all these things. They are less than 10%. That's why we import everything. It's so unfortunate, and we have to for us to correct that, we must put a hand, press down on the training of managers and entertainers, and distracting people with a lot of entertainment, and then push up those that are doing the production and give them the facilities and open up for them so that they can produce. That's why many people in the diaspora are going to come back. They might even have double nationalities or permanent visas and so on. Or when the progressive CPDM comes, they will get it.
Doctor, I have a follow-up for you. Sorry for cutting you.
No, but let me finish. Just to say that the diaspora, please be preparing your bags. You are coming home. Yes. You'll be given land. You'll be given the certificate. You'll be given the opportunity. Do whatever you want as long as it is legal.
Who will give them,
Doctor,
the progressive CPDF.
Doctor, I have a follow-up for you. Doctor, I really like your analogy, but I want us to look at this from a pragmatic perspective in terms of collective leadership. You made mention of something like a leader must be able to have inspirational values, and also must be able to embody values. Yeah, talk about embodied values, Doctor. But Doctor, let's come now to the pragmatic situation, which you mentioned, the Keep Douala Clean, as an example.
Yes.
Every Thursday there's a Keep Douala Clean.
Yes.
We have not seen the city mayor, the mayors, the DOs, all on the field with their working attire. So, okay, let's keep Douala clean.
Yes.
Should we expect the common man to go now and keep Douala clean?
That is the problem. That is the problem where, you see, this leadership thing is very interesting. That's the problem. Wait, when the progressive civilian comes, you will see something. See. Let me just share something with you. You know, when I was working in Bamenda, I had my clinic there and so on, and my nurses would testify to you. I have my office, but in my office, I had a broom. I had a broom that I kept behind one cupboard somewhere. You understand? But in that office, in my place, I had a nurse sitting in the reception. I had another nurse, Winifred, in the pharmacy, and a couple of other nurses upstairs, and then three ladies cleaning, plus another guy, a yacht man. That's the people just responsible, around the area. And I could call a nurse to come in and clean my office anytime, which means that a patient, like some patients, they would come and they have a lot of mud on their shoes, and then they would leave a lot of dirt where they were sitting at my desk. And what I would do is, if they left, I would take the broom and sweep it out, and take it and put it in the dustbin, and wash my hands and come and sit back. You understand? And at my door, I didn't have a nurse sitting there saying, you go in. No, I did it myself. And
leading by example.
Yes. So this is what you are getting at is, do it yourself. Walk the talk, which the woman was saying. So we have leaders who talk but cannot do it. That is the greatest problem. The best and the strongest way of leading people is to show them the example. That's why, as a father in the house, if you don't want your sons to drink, don't drink. If you don't want your sons to smoke, don't smoke. If you don't want your sons to be irresponsible, don't be irresponsible to their mother. So what you do counts more than what you say. And we have a lot of people who just talk, drive in big cars. Being a leader is not about driving in a big car or having a gendarme with you. No, that has nothing to do with. We have a wrong connotation of leadership, and that comes from France. You see, it's very unfortunate. It comes from France, and it's done on purpose. They come take our young men, put in a school called Enam, blow them up, and they beat them up. They rise like eggs, and then and they think that leadership is about by going around blowing on hot air and kicking people around. That is not That is not it. Real leadership is, you have to. Jerry Rawlings. You see Jerry Rawlings. You see Kagame. Yeah. You see Sankara, who was killed. You see the Tuareg now. Those guys. You see those three guys who have taken power. You know why those guys are strong? Because of their style of leadership. It's not about feeling big and eating omelettes and then discussing with the French president. That's not about it. Leadership is about being with your people on the field and solving those problems yourself. Un point, un trait. So you might be big, but remove your jacket, hang it up, go down the streets and clean those gutters with the people. It doesn't matter who you are, even when you're the president, clean those gutters. You know, I'm so disappointed. Go down to the ministries. Go down. Let me show you something.
Joshua did it in Liberia.
Yes.
He came out and cleaned the gutters.
Yes.
The president of the
that is what you should do. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? See, go down to our ministries. There is not one ministry that is clean. All very dirty. All. And then go check. Probably it's only the prime minister's office that is clean. Check around the ministries. See the grass that is growing around the ministries. Go to CHU and QS, which is supposed to be training doctors. Go and see how dirty the place is. Go to Vitessa. I mean, there is something really wrong with us. The big people, mindset. It's a mindset thing. Problem. But when the people in charge start taking responsibility for the small things and being part of solving those small problems, which is the pragmatism you are talking about, the nation will be clean. So it's about everybody doing something. You are not too big to clean. You are not too big to take a cutlass. And in the next government, everybody will cut the grass.
The progressive.
Yes.
Progressive CPD.
In the progressive, in the Third Republic, everybody will cut the grass.
Tah Mai Jarvis,
I want to kill you.
I just wanted to comment just a bit about what Dr. Nick said. When he says it, I don't think there's exaggeration, because I'll be frank and honest enough to cite. I was in Yaoundé a month ago. When I visited territorial administration, I am telling you that I asked myself a lot of questions. Am I in a ministry or not? I said everywhere was that. I remember when I started asking this thing, people told me that, but are you new here? We are used to it. And so just to add that, the problem of mindset, if we cannot remove that our jacket of high horse, hang it somewhere, calm down, lead the people cannot lead themselves.
Okay, my question now to you, you talked about individual consideration, and also you talked about the fact that we must be able to have empathy and also strengthen strength and skills, that is, identify those who are skillful in their various domain in terms of shunning away most of Cameroon's quagmire that now happens to do on my question, tribalism, nepotism. These days, it is quite often that if somebody asks your name, what is your name? You say you are Emmanuel. The person will say, what is the other name?
Yes.
Your country name. And when you say the womb, the person will now, if you see a smile on the face of the person, if the person comes from your village, you say, oh, you are from my village, come in. Then, is this not a problem we are facing in Cameroon, where people now tend to look at this issue from not being competent based, but to be village and tribal based, in terms of way that people isolate themselves and give favor to their particular village people? This is one of Cameroon's quagmire. How do we get that from this quagmire? How do we get that from the quagmire of tribalism, nepotism, corruption, like Dixon said?
Tah Mai Jarvis, the problem, all the things you have enumerated are systemic. They are already at the endemic stage. They are at the endemic stage, and they are so difficult to shun them. You know, like I've always said, Cameroon is the only country where you will bribe somebody to show you where to give real bribe in Cameroon. And it's so sad, because it starts from the top to the bottom. So to fight it, I think we need another spirit. The issue of corruption, like I was saying some days ago, without citing the school, but I said I assume the consequences if the principal of this institution calls me again. I will cite it on air, that the government preaches that every child has to go to school, which is a fundamental right. Yet you go to a government bilingual school in an area like Douala, and you are asked 105,000 francs for bribe to buy the child's place, after the child must have written entrance examination into the college and had it. And I started blowing this alarm when some of them started calling. I said, but how do we stop this? A government teacher paid by the government told me wholeheartedly that even in this case, us the teachers have no control. Because the spaces in Form 1 are reserved for the principal and the regional delegate of secondary education. And I was asking myself, in this case, how do I, Ndium, as a member of a civil society, in whom one of my agendas to keep my country clean is to fight corruption? He told me that we were not here on television. If you don't pay, others will pay. And I am telling you that the commissioner of this police station just left after paying for his child.
Wow.
I was speechless. So at that point, I choose not to contribute by deciding that even though the child is not mine and I'm just like doing a favor, I will take the child to a mission school. Rather pay it there. So your question is, you are struggling to find out how do we shun tribalism and corruption. To shun tribalism and corruption, we must come back to a mindset. The mindset that we need to let our country grow. If Tah Mai Jarvis is a good journalist, he should not be made the Minister of Basic Education. He should be put in his place. Cameroon has gone spoiled because people who know nothing are given everything to do. And at that time, they keep running and joking with time. And you know the effects of playing with time. Okay. It has happened and happened. So I think you and I have to rise up. Like I was talking about community-based self-reliance projects in Cameroon. If every community does not have the courage to rise up and denounce a corrupt administrator, like the duos who are sent somewhere, they go and they become owners of everybody's land. They go and they make everybody's land to become their land. Yet the population that needs that land to grow food, to solve the problem of food insecurity, they don't have this land because corrupt administrators have taken over every land. Yet the population is quiet. That is why I am challenging any member of a civil society. We need to educate our people to become whistleblowers. Don't be afraid. We know that they will intimidate us with New Bell, they will intimidate us with Konengi and all the like. But then, if we cannot go above our fears and our worries to be able to challenge these corrupt administrators, then we are finished. There will be no way. If we are not able, if we are not courageous enough to go above our fears and our worries, to shout, to be whistleblowers, to make sure that a geo has a duty to render account to the state and render account to the citizens, then we are finished.
Thank you.
If we are not aware that the mayors voted by us,
we'll be coming back to you. Let's just welcome one of our guests here in the studio. So we'll take on this quick transition. When we come back, we'll introduce our guest. Thanks for joining us. If you are watching us, you're watching House of Commons with Tah Mai Jarvis. We have been talking about transformational leadership and also in an uncertain society, the way out of Cameroon's quagmire. A while ago, you've had the opportunity to listen to other members of the panel who have been giving their point as far as transformational leadership is concerned. And this time around, we've just been joined by one of our guests who was supposed to be with us. As President Pobia said, it's better late than never. And also want to apologize for her coming late officially. You know that God first, man second. And of course, we are talking about Sunday. Dr. Harris, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a privilege for us to have you on House of Commons. We are talking about transformational leadership, the way out of Cameroon's quagmire. Africa is plagued with a lot of quagmire. Let's broaden it. Let's just zoom in. Let's just look at Cameroon. The quagmire of bad leadership in terms of people not wanting to lead by example, the quagmire of people not wanting to listen to their subordinates or wanting to play a kind of bossy attitude. You are somebody who has an experience both Africa and out of Africa. You have interacted with people and also you have been with organizations. When you look at the system of leadership that we have in Cameroon and also in Africa, is there somewhere that we are found wanting, and is there somehow, you are also a Harvard Fellow, how we can harness from better experiences to make Africa and Cameroon to be a better place?
Okay, thank you very much for this invite. It is really very important to talk about this transformational leadership in a time like this in Africa, where things are going like we don't even know where it's going. You know, one of the things that I would say, it's like you said, it's not focusing in Cameroon, it's a general problem in Africa. The first problem that I would talk about is putting people in wrong positions. The first thing is, we think that having politicians in leadership position is a good idea. That is the worst idea that is happening to the leadership of African countries. Politicians are not leaders. They are, like we call them in church, evangelists. They're people who does rallies and bring people together. You know, they mobilize and they sensitize people to vote for somebody. A leader is a servant, someone who loves people, who wants to lead by example, showing them what to do, by start doing it first, so that people can emulate what he is doing, so that they can do it like them. So we are in a society where the whole thing has been swapped. It's like leadership is a position. In my book, The Millennial Leadership, you will see where I specify leadership is not a position that you gain. It's not a name, it's not a title, it's not an office. It's a duty that you render to your people. It's a service that you give to people. Now, we put people who are not service conscious. They don't work, because a true leader is not moved by a particular space in an office. It's a result that you produce. You know, they are result orientated. And politicians are people who have the one goal to win. The moment you want to win, you want to prove a point, you want to feed your ego, you want to, you know, you want to keep winning. They don't have the capacity to bear like losing something. Now, a leader is a servant, someone who wants to fix the potholes, someone who wants to ensure that the people they are okay, they are people orientated. And oftentimes, real leaders are not even good talkers. They are just good actions, you know. And when you come to Africa, you find out that most of our leaders are politicians. You know, we have a good leader that we have elected as a president of the country, but he's surrounded by great politicians, and that is a mistake. You cannot even do well having politicians around you as occupying leadership position and expect a good result. So if we want to change it, we have to retool a whole mindset of leadership from the hierarchy right down. We have to start cleaning and changing and finding who is a leader. A leader is someone who produces results. What have they done before? We have to check their records. You know, before putting a leader, you want to know their community services. What have they produced? A politician can lie, and you can easily bribe a politician, but you cannot bribe a true leader. You cannot buy them with money. You can buy their consciences, because these are people who have given their life to serve people. You know, they will not want to steal or marginalize or rob people of their benefits. That's a sign of a true leader. But when you have a politician, they tell you, oh, we're gonna make you a road, we're gonna do stuff, we're gonna do this to you, and we're gonna bring you clean water, we're gonna do stuff. Hey, we are clapping for you. We know you're lying. We know it's a nature of a politician. Now they are pulling up a campaign to win. After the election, they're preparing the next win. You know, that's what you're doing. But a leader, after producing a result in one particular area, they're looking for how to, you know, to maintain or have more results in other areas. Means that they are very active in the cause of achieving results. So the whole thing starts from putting wrong people in positions that they are not supposed to be there in the first place, and that is where that's how we found ourselves today.
Yeah, I will be coming back to you for a follow-up. Let me just come to Dixon. I'll come back to you for a follow-up before getting back to Dr. Nick and also the women Manuel, because you made mention of key issues that which I believe that the civil society need to pick it up from there in terms of what are their track record, what have they been producing?
Of course.
And how are they going to achieve? Because
Exactly.
the common man is just made to understand that we'll construct road, but they don't care to ask how
yes.
it's going to be done.
Yes, because it has to be a collaborative thing. We are voting. You said you want to bring us a road. Tell us, because the building has to be put by us.
The process.
Bring us the plan. What's the action plan? What are we supposed to do? You have to be in constant communication with the people. But the leadership in Africa is kind of a dictatorship. I will build you a road, but I'm going to build the road when I want to build that road. I'm going to give you water, but I'll give you water when I want to give you water. And the people don't even know when that water will come, you know, so.
Engineer Dixon, you are someone who is, your last edition, you were here, you talked about the fact that institutions don't want to open up for students to have internship or to for people of your kind to actually look at what they are doing for accountability. And Doctor just also made mention of the fact that we need to train leaders that are supposed to be people-centered and more supposed to deliver results and not politicians. A while ago you made mention on the fact that you are going to give us a leadership model. What's the model?
Every leader is a good reader, and you can't lead when you don't have somebody you look up to. So before you become a leader, you should have a role model. And to me, my role model in leadership has been the first Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, who is of late of blessed memory. This is someone who took Singapore from 1959 as a very poor nation, the same as Cameroon. They were poorer than us, Mr. Jarvis. Singapore was poorer than Cameroon. 1959. We had independence 1961. And this poor nation from nowhere today is one of the world's strongest economy. What brought this nation from poverty to strength to economic independence is leadership. There is no corruption in Singapore, Mr. Jarvis. There is no unemployment in Singapore. This is a poor nation which Cameroon was once richer than, and they are stronger, richer than us with all the resources we have. So I think that leadership, anybody who wants to lead a developing nation should see Lee Kuan Yew as a role model. One thing that he imbibed in his leadership is patriotism. He was never somebody that when he is sick, he fancies going out to treat himself in hospitals in Europe. He said, if I'm going to receive medical attention, it will be in Singapore. So for that, all my collaborators will do same. And we are all going to join our heads to construct a reference hospital in Singapore. He achieved that. So he gave 3 key aspects, which I think Dr. Mary mentioned one already, but I'll still reiterate. His model is MPH. He calls that MPH. That's his model of leadership. The MPH model. M there is meritocracy. We have polytechnics in Cameroon. Polytechnique de Maroua, Polytechnique de Douala, Polytechnique de Yaoundé. These polytechnics send out engineers. And like Doctor said, we need engineers to boost our production. When these children are graduating, which model has been set aside by the state to make sure these children take on production, rather than leaving production in the hands of people who have not been to school, who have not had that kind of training, who go out and solicit expertise from India and China, who comes and head our companies and our trained engineers. The government abandoned them. They are roaming the streets, but they have engineering certificates
and they have polytechnic.
They are from polytechnic.
And the government has invested in them.
And the government invested, of course, the government invested huge money, but no follow-up after training. Again, meritocracy. When I was growing up when I was in my early days in secondary school, I remember they used to tell us, you have the best result in Cameroon, you enter queues automatically. You don't write any concours. But today people are, as their children are going up, they are gathering money, 2 million, 3 million to bribe.
It's 10 million. I didn't know.
Like the woman said that
Yes.
in Cameroon you need to know someone that knows somebody. You bribe that person to go and show you where you pay the rebribe.
So Lee Kuan Yew said, give to somebody. If we have trained engineers, let's trust these engineers. Let's give them machineries. Let's give them equipment. The government should think of that. Look at agriculture. How can you explain we buy a liter of palm oil 1,500? A liter of palm oil with all the arable lands we have, which should be sold at 500 francs.
Yes, 250.
And yet we have tractors that have been abandoned that cannot be used. And we have agricultural schools with no machineries and no equipments for them to be trained.
Teachers go to agricultural school in Thai.
So that is one. Meritocracy. The second, Lee Kuan Yew said the P is pragmatism.
Yes.
Pragmatism. I think Dr. Mary again highlighted that we should not politicize economic growth. Meaning, once you have been elected, don't surround yourself with a politician. You don't need them. You may call them again when the political
To do evangelism.
Yes, to do your evangelism again. You set policies and do politics to get the mandate. Once you get the mandate, you forget the politics. You now look at the people. Those who vote for you and those who did not vote for you. You should be very pragmatic, because at the end of the day, you want to write your name in history books that you were that man. Under your reign, all children in Cameroon had free healthcare. You were that man. Under your reign, unemployment was at this percent. But as I'm speaking, unemployment is above 50% in Cameroon. Everybody now is the membre. You go to school, have certificates, you're in the market selling okrika and riding bike. Pragmatism. The H which Lee Kuan Yew gave is zero tolerance to corruption. I earlier said no amount of money printed can make a country rich. Print billions of dollars today and give to Cameroon government. Without productivity, we will just suffer from inflation. We'll find ourselves paying one room house for 10 million. Because we have a lot of money in circulation and we are not productive. We'll find ourselves buying a needle for 50,000. Something we used to buy at 25 francs, because we have more money circulating. So, zero tolerance to corruption. Without these three things in place, I think I love the model so much that if it is implemented, we will see change. And then the transformational leadership now we're talking about with a progressive CPDM that doctor is trying to say will be made manifest. I'm sorry to say
Which
that.
means that, doctor, you're saying that the progressive CPDM should not be politicians that will be going to organize crusade in villages and towns, but there should be some people who can get the job done. Let me come back to you, doctor. You raised quite a very important issues, which touched me, and something that we've been preaching in universities, because some of us work in universities, and we believe, like Professor Bernard Fordon said, that a university is not for mindless mob, but for talented talent. And also that universities that lack research facilities are more of glorified secondary schools, and that we must go beyond. Now my question to you, you talked about the fact that leadership must start from top to bottom, and that we must start cleaning from top to bottom for this to be done. And you said a leader is someone that fills the potholes. And you also said we should look at what have they done before when they come to us. What have they been producing? And you have to check their track record. But now, the issue is, how do we get this message to the common man who are watching us? We have a lot of messages. Who are watching us to know how to do this? Because they are familiar with the fact that it is our time man. Let's vote for him.
It's not enough to vote for the person because it's your tribe man.
Maybe you talk to them.
Okay. The first thing we want to do is to investigate their track records in the community, how they serve the people, because I said leadership is fixing people, it's working for people. Now, engineer just said that people in agri sector goes to the practicals with suits and ties, and that sounds like an abomination, because you should be in your rain boots, you should be with your hose and stuff.
Your lab jacket,
getting ready for, you understand that. So it is just you know, emphasizing that the leaders, whatever area you've been put as a leader, you can equip yourself even more and go out in action. We want to see action. Check out what they did before. Before aspiring for a position, something pushed you into that one. You just didn't just wake up and say, hey, I just want to be a mayor. I just want to be a DO. I want to be a senator. No, we know you've been existing. There is something I always say, it's my word, I say in pidgin. I say, if person no give you okrika, it no go give you ready-made. Why? Like, so they cannot give you the cheapest thing. They were not going to give you that big water project of 10 million. They will not give you that stuff of 100 million if they couldn't sacrifice their 5,000 to feed some people around them. So check them out. Are they givers? How do they take care of their community, their families, the things that they do for people? Now you're sure that this person you're putting in this position will be able to give you the road they said they will give you. And now when we are voting, oftentimes we vote because we hear people talking. They're talking for someone to be in power. Now our village people. It's not, your village people can be very unqualified. Your village person cannot have the skills. You're looking for someone who have the skills in whatever area they're putting in. And I talked about your surrounding. Now, who are the people who are around you? If they're just politicians, trust me, that leader can never survive. They will never produce a tangible result or durable result because they'll easily be influenced by too much talk. You know, people who talk a lot, they really hardly brings in, quality results. If you check history, everyone who's making a great result is not a serious talker. It's someone who thinks a lot. It's someone who listens to the people. How can you be a leader who doesn't listen? When you don't listen, you can't even have that empathy. You cannot stir up empathy if you cannot listen to your people. And how do you please your people if you cannot communicate? And how can you even communicate if you don't even feel them? We need to go down to the field. The people, when they give you an office, leave that office and go down to their houses. Now, I was working with a mayor, one of our mayor, where Amy is situated in the USA, and my mayor I'm really so close to the mayor, and I see him when a child have an accident or something happens in the community, he goes right where the accident happens. He goes to the hospital, he goes to whoever has been buried, he takes care, he speaks to these people, he sits and gathers the youth. What is it? How can we fix our community? What is it we can bring into this county that can improve us, and everyone brings their idea and people ask them and they try to give an account about the budget that you said you're going to do this and how did you manage this. And that is what we are lacking in Africa. People are scared of their leader. If you are afraid to speak to your leader, you have a very bad leader.
Doctor, when you use the word lacking, it's like it's even there. It's not existing.
Okay.
When you just mentioned, I was laughing because how often do we even see our leaders? When an accident occurs, you even see them on the place to say, okay, this happened. We have floods constantly in Sable here. How often do we even see these leaders to say, hey, we're on the street, let's go and see what is happening? How often?
The leader should be more active out in the field than in an office. That is the truth. The leader should be out there because you are for the people. You are not, the moment you're occupying a leadership position that is public, you are a public person.
Okay.
You should take care of them. You should ensure their security. You should ensure their health. You should ensure a lot of things about them. And I think that is what is happening in Africa, especially in Cameroon. Our leaders are inaccessible. We cannot access them. You have to book rendezvous for ages to be able to talk about your problems or your worries.
We have air conditioner leaders in Cameroon.
Yes.
Who spend 24 hours of the day, maybe under the air conditioner. I say I'm very happy for you, Doctor, coming because you will appear. We looked at the topic. You have mentioned empathy, and that's where I started from in the studio.
Wow.
When I talked about inspirational leadership motivation, and if you're a leader, you don't have that empathy in you. There is no way. You just strike a very hard one there. We have leaders in Cameroon. We have road accidents every day. I mean that we have schools collapsing on children in Cameroon. We have not seen a minister running there. And at the time, they wait, when elections is by the corner, they buy some cubes of savon, they buy some buckets, they go and fool the people. And at one point, I start blaming these people that people only have the leadership they deserve.
The people are the problem, though.
The people are the problem.
Yes.
The people, especially in the country of Cameroon, we only have the kind of leadership we deserve.
Yes.
Why? We all know that our leadership is bad. It's a corrupt one. In fact, their report card of corruption is always blue. Now, what has been happening? What have we been doing to curb this? what have we been doing to shun this? We have been quiet.
Yes,
we are being
people
paid.
Are quiet.
Yeah, we are being paid.
They don't know their rights.
Yes, we are being paid by break for 50 sardines.
They are afraid
and
to
then
open to
our
speak.
brains have been neutralized
with food and drink.
Yeah, night clubbing
yes,
and all
we
the
can
other
club,
things.
drink,
So
and shout.
I want to
fine.
think, in as much as we have a senile leadership that has not been active in any way, I think Cameroonians should also be taking their responsibility, because some of us who have decided to...
I am coming to doctor. I don't want to believe that. I know it's a serious program, but I don't want to believe that we are not taking responsibility. We are praying every day now.
No. Prayer is not part of
that is not part of
responsibility.
Thank God I'm a pastor. I'm just from the church, so I can talk about that very well.
Even Jesus, even the Holy Bible,
preached and he went down to the streets.
Even the Holy Bible says, when you pray, you accompany your prayers with action. You don't pray and it happens. The magic comes from the action, not from the prayer.
Thank you.
We can't get off state table. Dr. Ningwanya.
Yes, please.
You talked about the fact that in our supermarket, there's a policy, we must at least have 10% of our home consumption, our home product at the supermarket.
Yes.
It's not like Cameroonians are not being innovative in your school sandwich. We have a lot of students defending good projects, tangible projects, and other universities, tangible projects. But these projects, sometimes they don't have the funding. And you talked about the fact that we must move from a consumption to production. How do we move from consumption to production when tractors have been abandoned in Eboloa? In fact, they are one lorry. I doubt, I was tempted to ask whether you cannot plant tractors to harvest tractors, because you have a good number of tractors, new tractors, state budget. How do we get that from this quagmire? And this is not just the only thing. Move to the Institute of Agricultural Research, from Ekona right up to Batoke, right to the north, and you look at how much funding is even being given to this person to carry out research, and also look at how much is being put in place as incubator projects, because we have country nations that keep money for incubators, that to say, okay, if we have this kind of project, please, we have funding. Doctor, how do we get that from this quagmire?
Thank you very much. Before I even, I just want to say a couple of things. If I do forget, please remind me and refresh your question and I would answer. Let us go back and let me remind you, because the time is running out, what the Cardinal said about success. You know, the Cardinal left me with 6 principles, and he taught me those principles, me and my students, 12 years ago. Number 1, if you want to succeed, it doesn't matter in what sphere. We are talking about family, country, school, personal business, association, whatever. Number 1, you must like work. That liking work, you can write a whole encyclopedia on what it means to like work. Number 2, you must like work that is well done. Can you imagine, out of 6 things, 2 are just dedicated to work? You must like work that is well done. What does it mean to like work that is well done? We could spend the whole day and the whole week talking about that. Number 3, you must be honest. You must have intellectual honesty. Another word for honest is truth. So if truth is absent from the formula, you are going nowhere. You start lying, you are going to turn around in circles. So for us to come out of any ditch, we must be truthful. Number 4, which is very important and probably more important than all the other ones, is self-discipline. You must have self-discipline. That means you know what you have to do with yourself, with your time, with your skills and everything. You know what not to do, and you are not waiting for someone to come around with a cane for you to do what is right, what is just, and what is good. Number 5, you must be able to pray. What is prayer all about? Pray to the God that you know and understand. Pray to that God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Pray to the God. When you pray, is for God to give you an understanding, to give you the wisdom, like Solomon, like Moses, like Daniel, to be able to know what you have to do and to know how to use your resources. Prayer will not solve the problem. Prayer does the first part of the problem. Prayer opens up your mind and gives you an understanding on what is going on and shows you where the ram is that you will slaughter. That's what prayer does. And then if you don't get up to slaughter the ram, there will be no sacrifice. So pray as if everything depends on prayer. Work as if everything depends on work. So if you're going to spend all night vigils for 1 month thinking you will make it, is a lie. If you sow the seed and think you will make it, it's a lie. And I think doctor is going to correct us, because a lot of us will go to the churches and just sow seeds and think that just by sowing seeds they are going to germinate. It doesn't work. Then the last thing is respect the environment, that respect Mother Earth. So we could talk a lot about that. I just wanted to mention these 6 key things, so that even if you didn't know what, if you didn't remember anything in this program, I remember these 6 things that the Cardinal taught me. You must be truthful. Now back to your question, how do we, I guess you were asking, how do we become actually productive?
Yes, how do we become productive?
How do we
because
become
we have tractors
productive?
germinating.
Good.
We have planted tractors in the Buluwa.
No, the thing, let me harvested we harvested them. Let me say that those tractors were repaired and shared to some ministers, and the question is, we don't know whether they are working or they have been locked up in a garage. That I cannot tell. But the bottom line is the tractors are no longer there. The people shouted so much that they were taken away and distributed to whoever. Now this is the point. So we have so many youths in the nation that have gone to school, but unfortunately the training in our schools is not laden with practicals. It's a lot of theory, which means that children graduate with a lot of large certificates and so on, but lack the capacity to transform water into wine. That's the problem. So the few who can actually do the transformation of water into wine, there is no structure that actually helps them to become productive. That's what Dixon was talking about. What have you put in place so that children don't have to stress so much and become productive? You know that our backgrounds are so poor. Suppose, for instance, that you've trained a road engineer, but that road engineer is not going to dig the road with his hands. He needs to buy all types and manner of bulldozers and caterpillars and trucks and so on. And his father's 2,000 francs cannot do that for him. So what mechanism have we put in place to be able to help these children to create those companies which will do our roads, so that we don't have to depend on the Chinese? And this is the beautiful thing. I know you are very worried. You know that that's what the progressive CPM is all about. And in the Third Republic, all those problems will be solved. You are going to see, yes. And the Third Republic, our school systems will be changed. The school system will be about productivity. Okay. Universities, and you know that the new law on higher education in Cameroon says that universities should have industries. I'm sure you are aware of it.
Yes, I'm aware of the recent. It was signed, I think, last two months.
Good, because up until now people are just telling stories.
And also incubators.
Yeah,
there's
that's
a new program coming up that will go operational next academic year.
That's correct. It's very important. That is the basis for import substitution.
But my question now goes to what Doctor said. The process. How is this going to be implemented? We have had good laws, Doctor.
Yes, you're right. Yes, what you are asking is, what are the strategies to make it happen? All right, and now let me tell you, if it's strategies you are asking, let me tell you. First and foremost, I mean, this is something I've been pushing. I don't know whether it's going to happen or not, but let's look at the school structure, the whole nation, and what we've been and the silly things we've been doing over the years. Now, so we have 8 or 11 state universities, 8 or 11 state universities, and we are all doing the same thing. Okay, and if you go check, we are doing more of subjects and many of these things and so on.
Still on research.
Yeah. You're supposed to research, but what kind of research is the question? Now, then we have created private higher institutes, and the private higher institutes were supposed to be the ones that were supposed to be doing the training people for the work. You remember when we started, I said that 3 categories of people are trained in the nation. You train managers and managers. Not leaders, we train managers. Leaders pop up from the system. We train managers, we train entertainers. That's what the school system does. Then it trains workers. But our whole educational system, 90% of the people trained are managers in quotes, and then entertainers. You're managing something that does not exist. In management, you manage something that exists. You cannot manage something that does not exist. That's the problem.
That's why Doom said we have air conditioner.
Yes, you have to manage something that exists. So we fail to produce workers. But again, like one professor, I've been making a lot of noise. One professor corrected me. He said, and he was right. You have to, you cook, right? So let's say that we are cooking some okra or some eru or something. You need salt. You need the water leaf. You need the meat and a couple of snails and kanda and so on in the right proportion. But the problem with our education is that we are cooking eru, but we have a huge bag of salt, you see, and then very little. So there's a disequilibrium. We are not saying that the other things that we have been doing are wrong, but we are saying that we have them in the wrong proportion. Are you getting my? So we need to shift that.
Doctor,
and once we do that, then we now train people. Not training. Everybody has to be to learn entrepreneurship. Oh, before you take away the microphone from me, what is entrepreneurship and who is an entrepreneur is very important. And once you have understood that, then you would also understand something. When you read the book, why A students work for C students and B students work for, by Robert Kiyosaki, he says in that book that professors of economics are some of the poorest people in the community. Why are they so? Then you would also be surprised that many of the students who study MBA, you know me, MBA, like
business,
yes,
business,
yeah, they create no business. So there is something that is missing. And then the question is, why, you know, A students are supposed to be the brightest, right?
Doctor,
yeah, wait. Yes, I know. But you know the A students not so. Yes. They're supposed to be working, to be creating things. Yes. Why is it that they work for C students? It's because C students have something.
Mindset.
Yeah, it's the mindset. That they have been failing and rising and being creative. So it is that creativity that we need to develop in our people. Forget about it, you are 25 points.
Doctor, rhetorically, how do you also explain the fact that somebody is teaching digital marketing in university does not have a Facebook, Twitter handle? There's a professor.
That is the problem, because we are fake. We are fake. We are fake.
You have somebody teaching entrepreneurship but hasn't got a business.
Yeah, he's a fake.
Anyway, let me just take a few messages. We'll take the last maybe conclusive statement because we're almost out of time. In this person is writing Divine, who is writing us from Limbe. He says, good day to you guys in the studio. Very nice program, Mr. Jarvis. Please, I want to comment on what Madam just said about the mayor in the US who goes down to the people and talk to them when there is an incident or accident, which is a good thing. But with us here in Cameroon, our leaders can never do that, like talking themselves down to the people and talking to them because of pride and the way they feel too big and important, which they are not even more important than some of the common people. They feel big to go down to them, and this is what is causing them to be very bad leaders. That's Elad from Limbe. And this other person writing from the USA, he's from Canada, Halifax, Canada, Aden Vivov, says, happy Sunday to you, Mr. Jarvis, and the entire panelists of great minds with a very interesting topic. Keep the work going. I am watching from Canada. This one says, great contribution, sir. Every leader must account on his or her post of duty. At the program prime hour, a lady from Lyongumoya raised a leadership problem that head teachers on retirement are renting houses they live in freely till retirement. Sir, can you please help investigate this issue? Pamwa from Lisoka. This one's a nice program. I want to really appreciate all those in the studio, Madam from the US, Dr. Nick, and also Dume Emmanuel, who has given us a lecture like a lecturer, and also Engineer Dixon. You guys are doing a very good job. Thank you very much. We sorry for not reading some of your messages. I really apologize. Hopefully next week Sunday I'll take the messages. Please just pardon me. I wanted the guests to actually give an insight, because today's program is more of education than politics issues, to say Papa don't talk say, Mommy never talk say. And so, Doctor, I'll begin with you again. Maybe you talk to the common man way forward.
Okay. You must understand that you have a right to receive an accountability from your leaders. They have to tell you it's as powerful as the result they produce, and that result can only come from you. So ensure that you speak out when things are not right in your community. Don't be shy, don't be afraid. They are not killers, they are men like you, put in there by you. So speak out when things are not being done accordingly. And then to the leaders, be a leader to the people. Love the people, serve the people. Give them what you promised to give them, and do your best to solve their problems, because at the end of the day, they're gonna talk about the things that you have done to them individually or publicly. Do something that leaves a legacy, leaves a mark about your leadership. Be a leader by example. You can read my book, on millennial leadership. The first point there is look for a problem and solve. Leaders solve the problems in the society, not your personal problems. We didn't vote you or put you there to take care of your particular problems and all that. Take care of the people.
Engineer Dixon, thank you for coming.
Mr. Jarvis, I have this last remark to make. The state has to lose its grip over the society by reducing state monopoly over resource mobilization and allocation. And I also want to tie with what Mr. Emmanuel said, which is decentralizing developmental responsibilities to local governing institutions. I think those are very key last remark I would like to make.
We are in accelerated decentralization. Now, since 1996, we moved from decentralization. Now we are talking about accelerated decentralization.
We should keep talking until it happens. We should keep talking until it happens.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. You know, Jesus Christ was the first teacher, and he taught by examples. I want to equally think, if you are given a post of responsibility in this country, ask yourself these three questions. What will my country look like if everybody was saving like me? What will my community look like if everybody was saving like me? What will my family look like if everybody was saving like me? Definitely. And in that light, you will get the rhetoric, the response coming back to you. Because one of the aspects of leadership is people in leadership fail to talk to themselves first. From the moment you start, you talk to yourself and you identify your name and who you are a leader.
If their children will have to school, they will school in Harvard, UK, and they have to go to hospitals, they will go to Paris, Lisbon, and they will defend budget here. And we, the common people who manage the pharmacies, praying that God help us and save us and heal us. And that's why we are on the line every day for miracles and for healings. And you rarely see that in the Western world because the medical system is upgraded. But thank God, he has been faithful and merciful, and he has been healing us. And so therefore, we thank you, Dr. Ningwanya, for coming.
Oh, thank you very much. Just to say that a new season is breaking in Cameroon, and things are going to change. As you've seen how it started with the higher education is going to change. The primary and secondary education is going to change. All that education is going to be restructured and remolded to become productive. No more storytelling. We are going to create more workers who would, you know, carry on that vision of import substitution, and it's not a joke. So it's going to work. And don't forget, the progressive CPM will solve most of our problems.
Thank you all, those of you. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for coming. Thanks to those who also accompany you, Doctor, here in the studio. I want to say shout out to your team who came here also accompanying you in the studio. I want to also thank to all those who took our time to watch us on the different social media platform. I want to also thank those of you who watch us from the US and also in the different parts of Cameroon and Africa, to tell you that this program comes up every Sunday at exactly 12 to 1:30. It is a program tailored towards giving you in-depth analysis and education as far as your society is concerned. And in case you missed this edition, you can get a rebroadcast of this same program today at exactly 10:30 p.m. or you go to our Facebook page, My Media Prime, or BT Media Group, YouTube channel, BT Media Group, Twitter handle, My Media Prime TV. As I always say this, and I will say, I leave you with this: no matter the matter, what matters is your matter. And what should matter for you is my personal code that I always give: the truth is God. You shall only kill the teller and not the truth. When you kill the teller, the truth remains to haunt you. My name is Tah Mai Jarvis, Cameroon's commercial capital, Douala. Fengu Dongbange. Until we meet again, stay out of trouble. Bye-bye.